Welcome back, everybody. I'm Blockchain Crusader, crusading through these blockchains every single day, and we're going to be talking about a lot of different stuff this Saturday afternoon, January 3rd, because 2026 just kicked it off, and it is getting spicy already, guys. Yes, we're going to be talking about Venezuela. Yes, we're going to be talking about how it affects crypto, how it affects gold, silver, oil, and overall the markets. So 2026 kicking it off here with a very, very big move by President Donald Trump, invading, as some people will say, Venezuela, extracting the president, taking him back to New York on his way over there, and now saying, we will run Venezuela until the transition of power is complete. Big, ambiguous statement of when transfer of power is complete. They talked about building an entire new infrastructure for the country, bringing up all the oil drilling up to par with American companies, talking about reinvesting all that money, talking about how they're going to control the oil production in Venezuela and how they, aka the United States, is going to sell the oil. And yes, that includes China, that includes Russia, and many other countries. So all I can say is, from that statement, the minute he said that he was going to run Venezuela and that they were obviously bringing in the American oil companies to start drilling and start preparing their infrastructure for oil production, you already know this is going to be a long-term hold. This is going to be a long-term hold. And we're not here to talk about positives or negatives, even though I see a lot of more positives than negatives, right? I know the liberal left is out there screaming at the top of their heads right now, imperialism, imperialism, imperialism. But let me tell you guys, this was a necessary move, unfortunately, right? It is what it is. It has happened. We can't talk about what if, else, and then. It's already happened. Now it's time to move forward. What do we see happening here moving forward? Well, crypto's having a nice little rally today, and it's not because of what happened, but overall, it definitely ain't going to hurt Bitcoin on the way up. I can tell you that. I can tell you that right now. It ain't going to hurt Bitcoin on the way up. So if you guys haven't already, we're going to get the Venezuela thing out of the way. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin. We're going to be talking about silver, gold, oil, and markets overall. But let's get it out of the way. So make sure you're dropping your comments into the chat right now. Drop a 1 into the chat if you are for Venezuela being controlled by the United States, right? If you're in for Venezuela being controlled by the United States, drop a 1 into the chat. If you think this is a huge mistake, drop a 2 into the chat. Drop a 2 into the chat if you think Trump taking Maduro out and now taking over Venezuela is a massive mistake. I want to hear from you guys in the chat. Pepe to $1. We're going to be covering Pepe here in just a second, but I want to get people's pulse on this, right? This was massive news that happened overnight, and I want to catch up people's feelings. I'm seeing some 2s in the chat right now. I'm seeing some 2s in the chat. How about BitTorrent? What about it? Why we should wait for market open on Monday? Oh, market open on Monday is going to be wild. I do expect some nice volatility, right, to the upside and potentially to the downside in markets all across with what just happened. This is a massive moment in history, right? This is a historical moment in history. And now we have to wait for the markets to react. So yes, I do expect major market volatility on Monday. Monday, China will strike. Nah, China's not going to strike. China is a business people. They are not going to strike. They're not going to make moves. They're going to negotiate with who they need to negotiate with to make things happen in their favor, right? Trump did say that he will still sell oil to China. They will still sell oil to China. It's just now Trump is controlling it. If China was going to do anything, China would have already built up forces in Venezuela when Trump started moving forces into the Caribbean, right? They knew this was coming. It was only a matter of time. The fact that China and Russia did not move troops, did not make any kind of pressure on the United States to back off, is saying that they are not going to intervene. They are not going to at least militarily intervene, right? They're not. They might talk a lot and they might condemn and they might make allegations and this and that, yada yada yada. We all know, bullshit talks. So it's just noise. But they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything. Let's see here. I'm seeing some twos in the chat. I want to hear from everybody dropping twos in the chat. Why do you think that this is a negative? Why do you think this is a negative for the world, for the United States? I think it's a positive. First off, I want you guys to know, right? I am a Cuban American, right? A Cuban American. I am a Cuban American where I am obviously America first, and I come from a dictatorship, right? My family escaped from a dictatorship, right? Where we were born into slavery, right? A lot of people don't understand this, but Cuba is a slavery state. Everybody in there, every single civilian in there is a slave to the government. That's how dictatorships work, right? My family was able to escape this communism, this slavery. Venezuela was heavily influenced by Cuba, right? Because before Maduro was there, it was Chavez, right? Hugo Chavez, and they were best friends with Fidel Castro. They did tons of negotiations together. They trafficked drugs together, right? They ran the whole show together, and all that influence came from Cuba to Venezuela, and there's Cuban forces in Venezuela and all that stuff, right? So yes, I do agree that Venezuela was a narco-terrorism country and that he was a narco-terrorist dictator, right? This is exactly the same play that, what's his name right now? Pablo Escobar wanted to do back in the day. He wanted to become president so that he can control the drug trade without having any issues. This is the exact same play. It's just happening with a different character, and it had been happening with a different character for the last 25 years. So this is a major positive. On top of this, right? On a side note, away from the fact that I know what it's like to live in a communist country, I know what it's like to be in those situations and what the people in Venezuela have been going through for many, many years, having no human rights, being oppressed by their governments, right? Besides knowing all of this and experiencing this myself, right? So I'm not here giving opinions. I'm here giving facts about what it's like to be on the ground in a country like this, right? On top of all of that, even if you want to ignore the fact that, the people weren't oppressed, there were some people that were for it. Yeah, there's always going to be people that are communists that are going to push to support their government because they're cockroaches. They're just doing whatever they can to survive. And if it is bending down and kissing the boot, they will bend down and kiss the boot, right? But the reality is that Trump going in and pushing Maduro out, extracting Maduro out of Venezuela and taking control of Venezuela pushes China and Russia out of the Western Hemisphere, right? Venezuela was one of their biggest strongholds for both China and Russia. Now, yes, there are other countries in South America that they're still involved with, right? But Venezuela is one of the biggest key holders. Why? Because they hold the largest amount of oil reserves. Don't be fooled by anyone out here telling you, well, the oil isn't high quality. Guys, nobody gives a rat's ass that the oil is not high quality. And if it isn't high quality, trust me, after the American oil companies go in there, they're going to make it high quality, right? Because they're going to be using the best technology, the most advanced technology to produce the best oil possible at the most efficient and quickest time possible. So forget about that argument. Everybody talking about, the Venezuela oil doesn't really matter. It's not high quality. Trust me, that is a BS argument. Do you think we will see a pullback in the market next week? Oh, we'll talk about that in just a second here. Do you know? Oh, I know where you're trying to get there. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. The people of Venezuela are in the streets celebrating. That says all for me. Oh, dude, 100%, Sean. 100%. More oil is a good thing. Oh, yeah, dude. More oil is going to reduce the price of oil, right? We've already got, what is it? Where is it right here? I just saw it earlier. We already got Saudi Arabia will reduce oil production by 90% if US circulates 13 trillion Venezuelan oil into global market and fear of US Saudi rift in coming years, right? This is a huge shift in power of oil production now that the United States is starting to get into the big boy games when it comes to oil, right? Being able to tap into a 17 or 13 trillion dollar reserve that is just sitting there puts everybody else on the oil production game in check. Puts everybody else in check. So it is definitely a massive shift in the game. Now let's jump over to Bitcoin. Right, we're gonna jump over to Bitcoin, but actually before we do that, let's go take a look at oil. Let's go take a look at oil. Right, let's get some charts here. Brand new clean chart here for oil out here on the monthly. Let's jump down to the daily. Let's get some yearly ranges here. Let's get some ranges for oil and let's just see what we see here. All right, so let's get from 2025. Where are we? January 2025. Actually, let's start with 2024's range. There we go, right here first. All the way to the end. December 31st. Now let's get 2025 all the way to the end. Let's get some yearlies here. Oh wait, oh man, I'm looking at the wrong chart. Jeez. Rookie mistake, guys. That was the wrong chart that I was looking at. This is the proper chart right here. Let me adjust it for you guys. What's going on, everybody? Appreciate all you guys jumping in here, smashing those likes, hitting that subscribe. We're going to be talking a lot about what's happening with Venezuela, with Trump, how it affects oil, gold, silver, Bitcoin, and crypto. And trust me, Monday is going to be a hot, hot day to be in the markets. Let's get 2025 here. I get a few yearly ranges here. Let's get 2021. Come on. All the way to the end of 2021. Let's get 2022. Let's get 23. All of these are sideways years. Not much going on. 24. And 25. Come on. All right. Here we go. Let's get some yearlies. Come on. We have an untapped target down here at 24. Now let's clone this. We're looking at the oil chart right now. Let's go take a look at the 6 months. Let me actually the bi-yearly. Two-year average. Clone that as well. Now let's get the 6 months. Let's get this yearly MPOC out of the way as well, since we're already here. 25 yearly NPOC. And let's see. Let's get a few quarterlies. No, not bi-monthlies. Quarterlies. See if there's any quarterlies of interest. No. All right. Didn't think so. So over here, let's get this trend for the last couple of years, since 2021, all the way up until this point. Right, oil's been in a pretty downtrend overall. We topped out in 2022 around the $129 a barrel. Then we had a second top in 2022 around the $122 a barrel. And since then, we've been making lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, continuing our trend to the downside for oil. So overall, let's get some extension targets here. Let's zoom out to the weekly. Appreciate everybody jumping in here. We're looking at oil right now. We're looking at oil, right? We're talking about everything that's been happening with Venezuela. So we're going to be looking at oil here and see what could be happening with price targets. We know we went negative $39 back in 2020. So if we get some extensions here, right, from this low to this high, down to this low, those are some big potential targets to the upside, which I don't see us going for, because realistically, why would we be going towards those targets up there when we're adding more production of oil onto the global circulating supply? So if we go from this top, let's get this top right here. Come on. Down to this low. Back to this top. This is what I want to look at. Big targets here for oil, right? Currently, we're sitting right at the yearly value area low for 2025, around $57.32. Our next big target to the downside would be $51.57. If we were to extend out below the downtrend that we're currently in, we're going to go down to our 2-yearly average around $39.87. Oops, did not mean to do that. $39.87 as the target to the downside of where we could be headed for oil here in the short term. So those are the big overall targets to the downside. Looking at $51 to $39 in the short term, mid to short term for oil here if we continue pushing to the downside. Now, to the upside, we do have some targets, right? If we continue to hold this yearly range for 2026, for 2025, in 2026, right? Targets to the upside here in the short term. Oops, did not mean to do that. Targets here in the short term to the upside are between $60.91 to about as high as $66.64, right? Fully rotating the yearly range for 2025 before potentially heading lower and continuing our lower high structure here. If we begin to break out above $78 for oil, we begin to start making a move of breaking these lower high trend and maybe have a higher move to the upside, which I'm not foreseeing with the current situation of adding more oil liquidity to the markets overall. Guys, I appreciate every single one of you guys in here right now. Make sure you guys are tapping that screen, filling up those like meters. Get as many people in here as possible. Share out the live. Would greatly appreciate it. It also depends on maybe they start doing some sort of position. I don't know what you're talking about there. Can you look at Pengu? I think it's going to go to Banana Land, a land full of bananas. Yeah, we'll take a look at Pengu here. Let's also take a look at Bitcoin. Yesterday, I told you guys I called this short here from this previous week high sweep of 90,000. We came all the way almost to my price target. I was talking to you guys about 89,000. Oh, wait, this is the wrong chart. There we go. Let it load in. Come on. Where are... There we go. We came down pretty close to my target. My target was 89,158. We came down to 89,245 before starting to make our move back up. I did take profits on that trade yesterday. As you guys, let me see, where is it? We'll talk about that later before I can find that tab. It's lost right now in the sea of tabs up here. But nonetheless, overall, Bitcoin came down, hit our target or close to our target. We took out a trade. We closed out around $325 in profits yesterday. Now Bitcoin has pushed back up towards the previous week high. We currently have swept it again, trying to get back into this previous week high and have failed once again. Now, can we still go higher? Absolutely, right? If we zoom out to the daily here for Bitcoin, right? Because if we know where Bitcoin's going, we know where the altcoins are going. So Bitcoin right now is making a pretty significant push here, trying to bounce off, right? It's been bouncing off these lower bands of this downtrend and trying to reclaim this yearly uptrend of 2025. I know the chart's a little bit messy right now, but bear with me. We're trying to break through this little blue line you see right here, trying to go back towards this target area between 94,000 to 98,000. 94,000 is the previous month high, aka the December high. That is a very critical area that we're going for right now. Between 94 to 98, hyper critical for Bitcoin. This is going to tell us whether we're setting up for a bull trap and heading much lower into 2026 first. But if we don't get trapped up here, right? If longs don't get trapped and we actually reclaim 98,000 and start to hold above 98,000, then yes, we are going to be heading between 101 to 111 in the earlier part of this year of 2026 so far. So it's really going to come down to what happens when price gets between 94 to 98,000. There's definitely a possibility we go up to 94, 98, get rejected, come down, hit some new lows into the 70s, and then push back up higher again. But we shall see. All right, we don't want to get into all the speculation of if and else, this, that, all this stuff. In the meantime, we got Bitcoin Cash up 7%, MYX up 67% today, 91% for the week. We've got World Liberty Finance up 15%. We even got Trump Coin up 5.4%. We got Virtuals up 8.5% today, 19.5% on the week for virtual. Render up 30% this week for render. Let's go. Now let's go take a look at Pengu. Somebody was talking about the Pengu chart. I do got my Pengu chart ready for you guys right here. Where is it? Here we are. Let's zoom out here. Let's adjust this. For everybody watching, let's jump out here to the weekly so it's nice and easy to read. Pengu right now is, making a test here for this yearly range, right? It's completed its first year of existence. Its yearly point of control is around 0.011. If we can get above that and start pushing up higher, our targets to the upside are 0.014 to about 0.019, right? If we break through that, our next big target is around 0.027 to 0.033 to the upside for Pengu. Now, if Pengu gets rejected here at this 0.011 and Bitcoin pulls back as well and we start dropping lower, we're looking for half a penny as our target to the downside for Pengu. Appreciate everybody here. Make sure you guys on TikTok are tapping those likes. Fill up those like meters, guys. We should have 5,000 likes by now. Let's get it rocking and rolling. Everybody over on YouTube, appreciate you guys smashing those likes, hitting that subscribe, hit that notification bell as well. Let's see here. Let's jump into the chat, see how everybody's doing. Which cryptos will pump? Well, if Bitcoin pumps, which it has been, right? It's been having a nice little move to the upside. Altcoins are going to follow. Another thing a key note to see here as well is that Bitcoin's dominance is also dropping, right? Bitcoin's dominance is also dropping. Something that we haven't seen in a long time is Bitcoin's dominance is dropping here as we speak. As Bitcoin is making these pushes to the upside, Bitcoin's dominance is coming down to 59.21. The previous month low was 58.97. We lose that, and we're going to go for our previous quarter low of 58.49. Anything lower than that, and we're potentially going to be running down towards 57 to 56%, which would be making a whole new low for Bitcoin's dominance in the last 5 months, which would be massive, right? If Bitcoin's dominance starts to fall below 58.49%, altcoins are going to be running. Altcoins are going to be running. Appreciate every single one of you guys in here, tapping those likes, hitting that subscribe. Let's get it, guys. If you guys have not already signed up for the Crypto Citadel, make sure you do so right now. If you guys are not aware, we are going to be hosting a free trading webinar tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time. We're 17 hours away. We're about 80% booked right now. Make sure you guys are RSVPing. All you need is his name and an email. It is absolutely free. Now, walking away from this webinar, you're not going to be a day trader, but here's what you will be able to do. You will be able to read charts. You will be able to identify market structure, market trend, targets to the upside, targets to the downside, and resistance and support. This is going to tell you when to potentially take some profits off the table, when to potentially strategically dollar cost average. Therefore, you will no longer have to be buying absolutely every single dip, and you will no longer be at the mercy of content creators telling you where the price is going, when to buy. We're back. It's going to zero. It's all over. You will no longer be at the mercy of content creators telling you where the market is going. And if the market has a big move, you will no longer be caught by surprise. You will have a game plan. You will see these levels on your charts and say, there we go. Charts have just hit the targets we were looking at, and this is what I'm going to do now. So that is what the webinar is going to allow you to be able to do, guys. So make sure you guys are signing up for the webinar if you haven't already. Can you check Pendle? Let's go take a look at Pendle. Let's go take a look at Pendle. Pendle is one that I do hold long term. It's been a while since I've looked at the Pendle chart. I'm going to have to update it here. We are a bit outdated on this chart for Pendle, so bear with me here as I update it really quickly. a second here. Let me get these. Here we go. Let's get this yearly MPOC. All right, let's get some yearly average as well. All these targets are looking to the upside, which is looking good for Pendle here in the mid to short term. Same. Let's get the quarterly. All right. Okay, let's get a little regression trend here. Actually, let's get a little extension. So if Bitcoin, if Pendle gets rejected here at this value area low, we're currently below the yearly range for Pendle, right? But if we get rejected here at 225, our one-to-one target is down at 92 cents. That's the area that we're looking for to the downside. If we continue dropping, would be 92 cents, which would also take us below the low of October, which is $1.67. Now, if we push back into the yearly range for 2025, our main targets here, let's get a little golden pocket here as well, from this high to this low. Right, our first big target to the upside would be 288 to 327. Above that, we're going to be running more than 50% of the yearly range to the upside. We start getting above 342, and we're looking for the value area high of the 2025 range, which is $4.28. And then we have a gold pocket up at 466 for Pendle to the upside here. That's just what we're looking at here for this yearly range. Like I said, if we lose the current low around $1.65, we're looking for 92 cents. But meanwhile, we can hold above 220. We're looking for 288 to 327 for Pendle. Let's jump back into the chat. Are you bearish or bullish right now? So right now, in the short term, I am neutral to bullish, right? Neutral to bullish on Bitcoin. What I'm really waiting on for Bitcoin is its move to 98,000, right? There's still a possibility that we go and take out the low from November of 80,000 first. That still can happen. We can push all the way up to 98 and then drop back down lower, right? So for the more macro long term, I'm kind of neutral on waiting to see what happens at 98. I definitely think a push to 98 happens relatively soon. January and Q1 is going to be a massive month and quarter for Bitcoin in 2026. We're going to see one of these highs or lows taken out. We're either going to be taking out the $80,000 low, which right now it looks more like we're going for the previous month high of 94,000. That is really the target that I'm looking for, taking out the high. But if we push to the high first without taking the low, right, and we push to 94, between 94 and 98 is hypercritical. If we get faked out, if we get rejected off that area and we start dropping lower, expect a lot lower. Expect us to take the low of November of 80,000 and push towards that $70,000 price point. So that's why it's hard to say if overall I'm bullish and bearish. In the short term, could be bullish just to see that push to 98,000. But then if we start getting rejected, we're going to be looking for a lot lower for Bitcoin. They won't give to us what that easy. I'm sure they will continue to liquidate sellers and buyers. Oh, that's what I'm saying. If Bitcoin pushes to 98,000, right? If Bitcoin pushes to 98,000, you know how many people are going to be screaming, "We're back. We're back. We're back. We're going to the moon. We're back. We're back. We're back," right? And that is right when people are going to get liquidated. That is right when all the longs are going to start. Everybody's still in disbelief right now. But if we start breaking above, right, 90,000 and we start pushing towards this 94,000 to 98,000 area, once we start approaching this area, people are going to be opening up longs like crazy. They're going to be opening up longs like crazy, which sets us up for a perfect bull trap. Not saying that we will get rejected, but I'm just saying that this is a very strong area to be looking at. Between 94 to 98,000 is a very strong area to be looking at for a potential bull trap. Getting rejected from there will definitely signify large push to the downside, a very large push to the downside. Meanwhile, everybody's going to be screaming, "We're back. We're going to all-time highs. We're going to 126." So it really depends on what happens at 98. If we can break above 98, start closing weeklies, maybe monthlies, above 98,000, reclaiming that 100K area, closing big time frame candles up there will change that in the short term. But if we do not close weeklies and monthlies above 98 after testing it and get rejected and we close below, I'm going to be looking for 70,000. Appreciate everybody smashing those likes, hitting that subscribe. Guys, continue to tap those likes here. If you're on TikTok, fill up those like meters, guys. Fill up those like meters. Appreciate every single one of you guys in here right now. Thoughts on stacks? I don't really have any long-term thoughts on stacks. I thought stacks was going to perform a whole lot better than it did, especially since Bitcoin has performed so well. Stacks really hasn't, which is a layer 2 for Bitcoin. The infrastructure for layer 2s on Bitcoin and just like building more stuff on Bitcoin has really taken a back seat to the Bitcoin ETF. So for that reason, I don't expect any major price rallies out of stacks, but look at it. Stacks is up 9.4% today, up 15% in the week. It's still down 82%, right, overall. So it's definitely something to be keeping an eye on. But for a short-term trade, it can definitely make some gains. You accumulating anything or just day trading? Right now, I'm just day trading. I'm not accumulating anything right now. If we begin to drop below 70,000, right, heading for that 67K, potentially 57K for Bitcoin, then I would be very interested in accumulating Bitcoin, in accumulating Solana, in accumulating Ethereum, and a few other coins at that point in time. But right now, because we still have the possibility that we can push to 98,000, get rejected, and then drop massively, right? Drop massively into the 70s, even 60s. I'm not accumulating altcoins right now. I'm not accumulating anything in spot right now. I'm just taking day trades based off these different assets and what I think could be happening in the day-to-day. Because even if Bitcoin reclaims 98,000, there is still no guarantee. The likelihood increases, but no guarantee that we will push to an all-time high, meaning we can push to like $111,000 for Bitcoin, get rejected, and start dropping lower because we would still be creating a lower high from the 126 and then drop lower, right? I don't think that is going to happen. I think if we do reclaim 98, there's a strong chance, right? There's a very good chance, probably like 60% chance that we do push for an all-time high. But for that reason, for the reason that we can get rejected at 98,000 and push lower, get rejected at 111, creating a lower high and still come back down lower, affecting altcoins from making major all-time highs, I'm not accumulating any massive amounts of altcoins. But I am willing to put in 2 to 3x longs on some altcoins, putting, $500 here and there into each of these trades and allowing them to run, to make some massive gains while only risking about $500 per trade, with obviously keeping a tight stop and, proper risk management on these long-term trades as they get into gains. So for that being, I'd rather take trades with less risk than try to accumulate spot for the long term and then just be stuck underwater for another year. I hear you waiting for more discounted prices. What are your thoughts of extended cycle theory? So yeah, man, the extended cycle theory is definitely something very interesting. Something we were talking about. I want to show you guys. Obviously, there's been a bunch of stuff happening here, bunch of stuff with Trump. But when it comes to the markets, right, the 4-year cycle, there is a nice little post here that I want to share with you guys. I shared it yesterday or in my previous live stream, whenever that was. Let's see, where is it? It's coming up. It's coming up. It's almost there. Any minute now. Here we go. Here we go. Right here. Right. This post right here. From 2011 to 2014, we had 3 years in green, 4th year in red. 2015 to 2018, 3 years in green, 4th year in red. 2019 to 2022, same thing. 3 years in the green, 4th year in the red. Now, 2023, 2024, both green. 3rd year expected to be green. We made all-time highs, almost closed in the green, got a major pullback, closed out negative 6% for the year. So 2026, sticking with this 4-year model is telling us two things, but they're really one thing. Either 2026 is going to be a green year to fill in the 3 years green, 1 year red, but it just shifted, or showing here that, hey, the 4-year model is completely broken and we could be headed into multiple years more green, right? Kind of like we've had our bear market, our red year, and what happens after a red year? Normally, historically, in the last 3 cycles, we get 3 more years of green, right? So either we're going to get an extended cycle here and have another 3 years of green to the upside as we enter the next halving event in 2028 for Bitcoin in the next 2 years. So we extend this cycle into the next 3 years being green, or 2026 alone is going to be green. Keep the 4-year cycle model, just a little bit of a shift in the terms of how 3 green and 1 red, and keep the 4-year cycle in total. But overall, they're both saying 2026 is looking like it's going to be green. It's looking like it's going to be green. I thought it was already a bear, kind of quiet now. Bear market? Why? Because Bitcoin pulled back 36%? Because Bitcoin pulled back 36%, everybody's calling for bear market. Look at this, guys. Let's go take a look at this chart here. Let's go take a look at this chart here. Let me turn some of this stuff on so you guys can see what I'm talking about. All right. Bitcoin had a big pullback of 33% in 2024, pulling back from 74,000 down to 48. Then pumped 122%, right? Pumped 122%, hitting our next high in December, November of 2024, going into 2025. Out of 109, we pulled back to 74,000 in February of 2025. From there, we pumped another 69%, taking us up to the high of 126,000, and then pulling back again 36%. So 33% pullback, 31% pullback, 36% pullback. But guess what? Low, higher low once again. So therefore saying we're still in a macro bullish trend. We're still making higher lows. We've had pullbacks of 33 to 36%, which are averaged pullbacks now that the institutions are involved. Before in 2020, 2021, and before we used to have 40 to 50% pullbacks multiple times throughout the bull run. Now we're averaging 33 or 36% pullbacks. We're still making lower high structure, or I should say higher low structure, meaning it's still bullish. So a push to the upside is still very possible, and we could still technically make an all-time high in 2026. So the people that are calling bear market, you can say that about altcoins. Definitely altcoins have been down 80+%, just like a regular bear market. But you can't say that about Bitcoin. You can't say that about Bitcoin. Alts have been down for over a year, broski. Yeah, alts have been down, but the alts don't run the market. Bitcoin runs the market, right? Bitcoin runs the market. Just going to show you and to everybody out there that if you're continuously investing in altcoins, you are playing the high risk game. If you're playing with meme coins, you're just out here gambling, right? Most of these altcoins are startup companies or that or barely even qualify as startup companies, making lots of promises that are completely empty, and they will go down 80, 90%. Some will go to zero and never come back, right? So this is why you need to have a diverse portfolio of high market caps, mid caps, and a small amount of low caps. If your entire portfolio is based on altcoin low caps only, you better be very aggressive on taking profits when you get rallies. Because if you're not aggressive on taking profits when you have those rallies, you will have these massive 80, 90% pullbacks and get wrecked in your portfolio. But everyone that's buying Bitcoin and has been buying Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana and a few other large caps are doing well. Are doing very, very well. So I appreciate everybody in here smashing those likes, hitting that subscribe. Guys, if you haven't joined the Crypto Citadel, definitely do so. And join the free webinar happening tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time. We've got 17 hours left before the webinar. Make sure you guys are signing up. A completely free webinar to learn how to identify market structure, market trend, be able to read charts, find targets to the upside, to the downside, support, resistance, so you can better strategically dollar cost average and know when it's time to take some profits off the table. Appreciate every single one of you guys in here. Appreciate all of you guys smashing those likes, hitting that subscribe. Guys, I am going to be getting out of here. I'll probably be back maybe later today for another live stream and definitely early tomorrow morning. But yeah, everybody enjoy your weekend. Be safe out there. And I'll see you guys until next time. I'm Blockchain Crusader. Crusading to these blockchains. I'll see you in the Crypto Citadel. See ya.